The blood-soaked letter trembled in Zara Blackburn's hands as she stood frozen on the porch of her small homestead outside Council Bluffs, Iowa, in the summer of 1868. The neat handwriting detailed the final moments of her husband Thomas's life, murdered by the very business partner who had penned this confession after fleeing to California. 3 years of marriage ended with a bullet in the back over a gold claim dispute, and with it, the last of Zara's faith in mankind. Zara folded the letter carefully, tucking it into her apron pocket. At 26, she was alone again with 40 acres of struggling farmland and a heart so battered she doubted it would ever heal. She had trusted Thomas when he promised to build them a life out west. Before him, she had trusted her father, who gambled away their family home in Chicago. Before that, the young man from a good family who had courted her until discovering she had no dowry. Each betrayal had chipped away at her, but Thomas's death had shattered whatever remained. The setting sun cast long shadows across the fields she somehow needed to harvest on her own. Tomorrow, she would go into Council Bluffs and speak with the bank. Perhaps they would give her time. Perhaps they would not. Either way, Zara knew one thing for certain: she would never again put her fate in a man's hands. Noah Yates pulled his horse to a stop at the edge of the small farm, watching as the woman on the porch wiped her eyes before disappearing inside the humble cabin. He'd come at the request of Sheriff Miller, who'd received the letter from California and asked Noah to deliver it, knowing the woman lived alone since her husband's passing. "Bad news doesn't get better with waiting," the sheriff had said, handing Noah the envelope with its blood-stained corner. Now, seeing the farmhouse with its sagging porch and untended fields, Noah felt an unexpected tightness in his chest. He had been back in Iowa for only 6 months after 8 years driving cattle from Texas, fighting in the war, and drifting across the frontier. At 30, he had returned to help his aging uncle with his ranch outside Council Bluffs, seeking the stability he'd never allowed himself before. He dismounted, removed his hat, and approached the door. The woman's face when she'd read that letter haunted him. Such deep pain shouldn't belong to anyone, much less someone trying to survive alone in this unforgiving country. His knuckles had barely touched the weathered door when it swung open, revealing the widow Blackburn, her eyes red but her spine straight as a rail. "Mrs. Blackburn," he said, keeping his voice gentle. "I'm Noah Yates. I work for my uncle James Yates at the Big River Ranch. Sheriff Miller asked me to check that you're managing. I appreciate your concern, Mr. Yates, but as you can see, I'm perfectly fine." Her voice was steady despite evidence to the contrary. "Please tell Sheriff Miller I thank him for the letter." Noah cleared his throat. "Madam, I couldn't help noticing your fields. Harvest is coming soon, and I will handle it," she interrupted, her blue eyes flashing. "Good day, Mr. Yates." The door closed with a decisive click, leaving Noah standing there, hat in hand, struck by both her beauty and her fierce independence. He'd seen that look before in wounded animals and soldiers who'd lost too much. Trust, once broken, was nearly impossible to restore. Replacing his hat, Noah returned to his horse. He wouldn't push, but he also wouldn't forget the widow with eyes like a summer storm. 3 days later, Zara stood before Mr. Hargrove at the Council Bluffs Bank and Trust, her hands clasped tightly to keep them from shaking. "Mrs. Blackburn, I understand your circumstances are difficult," the banker said, not unkindly. "But the loan your husband took out as payments due. We extended terms after his disappearance, but now that we have confirmation of his death, I only need until after harvest," Zara said. "The corn looks promising this year." Hargrove's expression said everything. "One woman cannot bring in a harvest alone, Mrs. Blackburn. Even if you could, it wouldn't be enough to cover the debt. I suggest you consider selling the property before foreclosure becomes necessary." Zara felt the familiar tightness in her chest. 3 weeks, Mr. Hargrove. Give me 3 weeks, the banker sighed. 2 weeks, Mrs. Blackburn. That's all I can offer. Zara left the bank, blinking back tears of frustration. The town of Council Bluffs bustled around her, oblivious to her predicament. The railroad had brought prosperity to many, but not to a widow with nothing but a small farm and mounting debts. "Mrs. Blackburn," the voice startled her. She turned to find Noah Yates standing beside his wagon, laden with supplies. "Mr. Yates," she nodded stiffly. "I'm headed back toward your way. Would you care for a ride?" Zara hesitated. Her horse had gone lame yesterday, forcing her to walk the 3 miles into town. The thought of the return journey on foot made her feet ache. "I promise the ride comes with no obligations," he added with a small smile that creased the corners of his eyes. "Just neighborly kindness." "Thank you," she finally said, climbing onto the wagon seat beside him. As they left town, Noah kept his attention on the road, seeming to understand her need for silence. Zara studied him from the corner of her eye. His hands were calloused, his skin tanned from outdoor work. Unlike Thomas, whose hands had been soft from working behind a store counter before they'd headed west, Noah Yates looked like a man accustomed to hard labor. "The corn in your north field looks good," he commented after a while. "Better than most this year." "You've been watching my fields, Mr. Yates. I pass by often enough," he said easily. "My uncle's ranch borders the Johnson property, which borders yours on the east." Zara remembered old Mr. Johnson, who had helped her with equipment repairs the previous year. "Mr. Johnson is a good neighbor." "He is," Noah agreed. "Mention you turned down his offer to help with harvesting." Zara stiffened. "I don't need charity." "Neighbors helping neighbors isn't charity, Mrs. Blackburn. It's how we all survive out here." They rounded the bend that revealed her small farm, the cornstalks standing tall and golden in the afternoon sun. It would be a good harvest if she could bring it in. "I appreciate the ride, Mr. Yates," Zara said as he pulled the wagon to a stop before her house. "Noah," he corrected. "And I'd like to offer my help with your harvest. I'm sure you have plenty of work at your uncle's ranch." "I do, but I can spare some time." His eyes, warm and honest, met hers. No strings attached, just a neighbor lending a hand. Zara looked at the fields that represented her last chance to save her home. Pride wouldn't bring in the corn, and neither would one pair of hands. "I can pay you once the corn is sold," she said finally. Noah smiled. "That works for me. I'll be by tomorrow at dawn with my equipment." As the wagon pulled away, Zara wondered if she had made yet another mistake in trusting a man's promise. But what choice did she have, true to his word? Noah arrived the next morning before the sun had fully crested the horizon. He brought not only himself and equipment but 2 young men from his uncle's ranch. "These are the Forrester brothers, Luke and Samuel," Noah introduced, "best farmhands in the county." The brothers tipped their hats to Zara, who stood uncertainly on her porch. "Mrs. Blackburn," Noah continued, "we can start in the north field today if that suits you." "It does," she said, surprised at the efficiency with which they unloaded the equipment. "I've made coffee and some biscuits." Noah smiled, and for a moment, Zara found herself noticing the way his eyes crinkled at the corners. "Much appreciated. Nothing works better than coffee and biscuits to start a harvest." Throughout the day, Zara worked alongside them, refusing to be a bystander on her own farm. By midday, her muscles ached and sweat soaked through her dress, but a quarter of the north field was harvested. During a brief water break, Noah approached where she sat in the shade of a lone oak tree. "You work hard, Mrs. Blackburn." "Zara," she corrected, surprising herself. "And I'm only doing what needs to be done." He settled beside her, respecting the space between them. My uncle says your husband came west with big dreams. Zara tensed. Thomas believed opportunity was waiting around every corner. And you? I believed in Thomas, she said simply. Until I couldn't anymore. Noah was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry for what happened to him. No matter what mistakes a man makes, he doesn't deserve that end. Zara studied his profile, strong and weathered by sun and wind. Have you ever been married, Mr. Yates? Noah, he reminded her. And no, never found the right woman while I was wandering, or maybe I wasn't ready to be found. He smiled faintly. The war changes a man, makes him question things he once took for granted. You fought in the war, he nodded. Union cavalry, saw things I hope to forget someday. Zara felt a flicker of understanding. They had both seen darkness, albeit of different kinds. We should get back to work, she said, rising. The corn won't harvest itself. Over the next days, a rhythm developed. Noah and the Forrester brothers would arrive at dawn, and together with Zara, they worked the fields until dusk. Slowly, the golden corn disappeared into sacks and wagons. Zara found herself watching Noah, his methodical movements, his patience with the younger Forrester when the boy struggled with the equipment, his quiet competence. On the 5th day, rain threatened. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon as they raced to bring in the last of the north field. We won't finish before the storm hits, Luke called out, eyeing the sky nervously. We can try, Noah replied, working faster. The first fat drops of rain splashed down as they loaded the final wagon. By the time they reached the barn, the sky had opened completely, turning the yard into mud. Get inside, Zara called to them, drenched to the skin as she ran for the house. The men followed, bringing the last sacks of corn to stack on the covered porch. Inside, Zara quickly lit the stove and put on a pot of coffee while the men removed their muddy boots at the door. It's really coming down, Samuel said, the youngest Forrester peering out the window. Don't think we'll make it back tonight, Noah. I'm afraid you're right, Noah agreed, looking to Zara. Mrs. Blackburn, I apologize for imposing, but it seems we might need to shelter here until the storm passes. Zara hesitated. Having 3 men in her home overnight wasn't proper, but neither was sending them out into a deluge that showed no signs of stopping. Of course, she said finally. I can make up pallets in the front room. As the evening progressed, the small cabin filled with an unexpected warmth. The Forrester brothers shared stories of growing up on the frontier, and Noah spoke of his cattle driving days in Texas. Zara found herself laughing for the first time in months at Samuel's tale of falling into a creek while trying to impress a young lady at a church picnic. Later, as the brothers dozed by the fire, Noah helped Zara clean the supper dishes. Thank you, she said quietly, for all your help these past days. You're welcome, he replied, his voice equally soft. You've got grit, Zara Blackburn. Most women would have sold and gone back east by now. I have nowhere to go back to, she admitted, and this land. It's all I have left of the dream Thomas and I shared, even if he betrayed that dream in the end. Noah's hand stilled on the dish he was drying. What do you mean? Zara hadn't meant to reveal so much. But in the quiet kitchen, with rain drumming on the roof and the rest of the world shut out, the words came. The letter you delivered. It was from Thomas's business partner. They found gold in California, not much, but enough. Instead of sending for me as promised, Thomas decided to claim it all. His partner killed him for it. All those months I waited, believing he was working to build our future. She shook her head. He was planning to abandon me. Noah set the dish down carefully. I'm sorry, no one deserves such betrayal. It seems to be my fate, Zara said, attempting a smile that didn't reach her eyes. My father, my first suitor, then Thomas. I'm beginning to think the problem lies with me. No, Noah said firmly. The problem lies with men who make promises they don't intend to keep. Their eyes met across the small kitchen, and something shifted in the air between them. Zara looked away first, uncomfortable with the warmth spreading through her chest. "We should get some rest," she said. "Tomorrow we'll need to assess any damage from the storm." Noah nodded, respecting the boundary she had drawn. "Good night, Zara." "Good night, Noah." The next morning revealed a waterlogged farm, but miraculously little serious damage. The corn they'd harvested was safe in the barn, and the remaining southern field had weathered the storm intact. "Another 3 days should see it all in," Noah said as they surveyed the land. "The ground's too wet today, but tomorrow we can start again." Zara nodded, relief washing through her. "I'll be able to make the bank payment after all." Noah glanced at her. "You were worried about that." She hadn't meant to reveal her financial concerns, but there was something about Noah Yates that made secrets difficult to keep. "Thomas left debts. The bank has given me until next week." Understanding dawned in his eyes. "That's why you're so determined to bring in this harvest yourself." "Yes. Once the corn is sold, I should have enough to make the payment and keep some for winter supplies." She straightened her shoulders. "I'll manage." The Forrester brothers approached, interrupting whatever Noah might have said next. "Roads cleared enough to travel," Luke reported. "We should head back to the ranch, check on things there." Noah nodded. "I'll ride back with you, then return tomorrow to continue here." He turned to Zara. "If that suits you, Mrs. Blackburn." "Of course," she said, surprised at how reluctant she felt to see him leave. "Thank you again for your help yesterday." As promised, Noah returned the next day alone, explaining that the Forresters were needed at the ranch. Together, he and Zara began work on the southern field, falling into a companionable rhythm. By mid-afternoon, the sun beat down mercilessly, turning the previous day's mud into baked earth. Zara paused to wipe sweat from her brow, observing Noah as he worked steadily through the rows. His shirt clung to his back, and his movements were fluid and practiced. "You should take a break," she called to him. "I've made lemonade." Noah straightened, pushing his hat back to reveal damp hair. "Lemonade sounds like heaven right about now." They sat in the shade of the barn, drinking from tin cups. Zara found herself studying Noah's profile: the straight nose, the strong jaw now darkened with stubble, the lines around his eyes that spoke of squinting into the sun and perhaps of laughter. "Why did you offer to help me?" she asked suddenly. "Truly?" Noah considered the question. "Honestly. At first, it was because I saw someone struggling who didn't deserve their lot. Then," he looked at her directly, "then it was because I admired your courage. Not many would face what you have with such determination." Zara felt warmth that had nothing to do with the summer heat. "I'm not sure it's courage so much as stubbornness." Noah laughed. "Sometimes they're one and the same." He hesitated. "Zara, I hope you don't mind my asking, but what will you do after the harvest? This farm is a lot for one person to manage year-round." The question brought Zara back to reality. "I'll do what women like me have always done: survive. Hire help when I can afford it, work myself when I can't." "There are other options," Noah said carefully. "Such as?" Her tone cooled. "Marriage to whoever might take on a widow with debts and damaged trust. No thank you, Mr. Yates." "That's not what I meant," he said, though his expression suggested it wasn't entirely outside his thoughts. "There are cooperatives forming among smaller farms, pooling resources, sharing equipment. My uncle has been discussing something similar with neighboring ranchers." Zara considered this. "I've heard of such arrangements." "Think about it," Noah suggested. "It would give you independence while providing some security." Before Zara could respond, the distant sound of horses approaching drew their attention. A wagon came into view, carrying Mr. Hargrove from the bank and another man Zara didn't recognize. "Mrs. Blackburn," Hargrove called as the wagon stopped in the yard. "I see you've made good progress with your harvest." "Yes," Zara replied, standing. "I'll have payment ready by the agreed date." Hargrove cleared his throat. "About that, this is Mr. Dawson from Omaha. He's interested in purchasing land in this area for development. The railroad is expanding and your property is strategically located." Zara felt her chest tighten. "My farm isn't for sale, Mr. Hargrove." "Mrs. Blackburn," Dawson interjected, stepping forward with an oily smile, "I'm prepared to offer a very generous sum, enough to clear your debts and provide for a comfortable new start elsewhere." "I'm not looking for a new start," Zara said firmly. "This is my home." Noah moved to stand beside her, his presence solid and reassuring. "The lady has made her position clear, gentlemen." Dawson's eyes narrowed as he took in Noah. "And you are Noah Yates, neighbor and friend to Mrs. Blackburn." "Well, Mr. Yates, this is a private business discussion," Dawson said dismissively. "Mrs. Blackburn, perhaps we could speak inside." "Anything you have to say can be said right here," Zara replied. "And my answer remains no. I will make my payment to the bank as agreed and I will keep my farm." Hargrove sighed. "Mrs. Blackburn, be reasonable. Even with a good harvest, you're one bad season away from foreclosure. Mr. Dawson's offer is generous." "How generous?" Noah asked suddenly. Dawson named a figure that made Zara blink in surprise. It was indeed more than she had expected, enough to clear her debts and start fresh somewhere else. For a moment, she wavered. "The land has been in my husband's family for 2 generations," she said finally. "I won't be the one to sell it." "You might not have a choice," Hargrove warned. "If you miss a payment, foreclosure proceedings will begin immediately." "She won't miss a payment," Noah stated confidently after Hargrove and Dawson departed, their displeasure evident. Zara turned to Noah. "You shouldn't have interfered." "Was I wrong?" he asked. "Do you want to sell?" "No, but—" She gestured helplessly. "That was a lot of money. Maybe I'm being foolish to refuse." Noah shook his head. "Not foolish. Loyal to what matters to you, that's admirable." He paused. "But Hargrove isn't wrong about the risk. One bad season could ruin everything." "I know," Zara admitted. "But this land is all I have left. It's the only place that's ever truly been mine." They stood in silence for a moment, the vastness of the Iowa sky stretching above them. Then Noah spoke softly. "We should get back to work if we want to finish this field by sundown." In the following days, they completed the harvest of the southern field. With Noah's help, Zara arranged to sell the corn at a fair price to a buyer in Council Bluffs. The proceeds were enough to make her bank payment with a small amount left over. "You did it," Noah said as they stood outside the bank after Zara had made her payment. "Your farm is secure for now." "Thanks to your help," Zara acknowledged. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you." "No repayment necessary," Noah replied. "Though I wouldn't say no to one of your apple pies sometime," Zara smiled. "That seems like a small price." They walked together toward where Noah had hitched his horse. The October air had turned crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke. "Will you be all right through winter?" Noah asked. "Do you have enough provisions?" "I'll manage," Zara said, her standard response to any concern. Noah stopped walking and turned to face her. "Zara, I've been thinking about what comes next." Something in his tone made her heart beat faster. "What do you mean?" "I mean that I'd like to continue helping you with the farm, not just as a neighbor, but as someone who cares about what happens to you." Zara felt the familiar walls rising in her mind. "Noah, I'm not proposing marriage," he said quickly. "I know you're not ready for that. May never be ready. But I am offering friendship, partnership if you will, help when you need it, company when you want it, and space when you require it." Why? She asked, searching his face for ulterior motives. What do you get from this arrangement? Noah's expression softened. The pleasure of your company, the satisfaction of seeing this farm thrive, and maybe, someday, the chance to prove that not all men break their promises. Zara looked away, overwhelmed by the sincerity in his eyes. I don't know if I can trust again, Noah, not just you, anyone. I know, he said gently, and I'll wait as long as it takes, whether that's months or years or forever. I'm not going anywhere, Zara Blackburn. The words hung between them, a promise Zara wasn't sure she could accept. But as she met his steady gaze, she felt something shift within her, a tiny crack in the walls she'd built around her heart. I can't promise anything, she said finally. Noah smiled. I'm not asking for promises, just a chance to prove that some are worth keeping. Winter descended on Iowa with a vengeance that year. Snow piled high around Zara's small cabin, and bitter winds howled through the nights. Noah visited regularly, bringing supplies, chopping wood, and ensuring her livestock were fed and watered. On Christmas Eve, he arrived with a small fir tree tied to his saddle and a package wrapped in brown paper. What's this? Zara asked as he set up the tree in her front room. Christmas, he replied simply. I thought you might like some cheer. They decorated the tree with strings of dried berries and paper stars Noah had cut himself. As they worked, Zara found herself laughing at his stories and feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the crackling fire. After a simple supper, Noah presented her with the package. Just a small gift, he said. Nothing fancy. Inside was a beautifully crafted wooden box with intricate carving along the edges. It's beautiful, Zara breathed, running her fingers over the smooth surface. Open it, Noah urged. She lifted the lid to find the box lined with red velvet, a small silver locket nestled inside. Noah, I can't accept this. It's too much. It was my mother's, he explained. She would have wanted someone like you to have it, he hesitated. I have no expectations, Zara. I just wanted you to have something beautiful. Tears pricked at her eyes as she carefully lifted the locket. Thank you, she whispered. I don't have anything for you. Noah smiled. You let me spend Christmas Eve with you, that's gift enough. Later, as Noah prepared to leave despite the snow, Zara impulsively caught his hand. Stay, she said. The storm's getting worse. You can take the front room. The relief in his eyes told her he had been worried about the journey home. Thank you, he said. I promise to be a gentleman. I know you will, Zara replied, surprised to realize she truly believed it. That night, listening to the quiet sounds of Noah sleeping in the next room, Zara found herself touching the silver locket around her neck. For the first time since Thomas's betrayal, she allowed herself to consider the possibility of trust, not blind faith, but trust built on actions and consistency. Noah Yates had proven himself reliable in ways no man in her life ever had before. He kept his word. He respected her boundaries. He asked for nothing she wasn't ready to give. Still, fear lingered. Opening her heart again meant risking devastation if she was wrong about him. Was she willing to take that chance? As winter slowly released its grip on the land, Zara and Noah fell into a comfortable routine. He would visit several times a week, helping with repairs and preparations for spring planting. They would share meals and conversation, gradually learning each other's histories and habits. Zara discovered that Noah had lost both parents young and been raised by his uncle. He had joined the Union Army at 18, fought for 3 years, then drifted westward, unable to settle anywhere until his uncle's health brought him back to Iowa. In turn, she shared stories of her childhood in Chicago, her father's gambling problems, and her ill-fated courtship with a banker's son who had abandoned her upon learning of her family's financial ruin. She even spoke of Thomas, their whirlwind romance, his grand dreams, and ultimately, his betrayal. "I think I always knew he wasn't being entirely truthful," she admitted one evening as they sat by the fire. "But I wanted so badly to believe in something." Noah nodded thoughtfully. "We all want to believe in something bigger than ourselves. That's not a flaw, Zara. It's what makes us human." "Perhaps," she said, "but it's also what makes us vulnerable." "True strength isn't in avoiding vulnerability," Noah replied. "It's in continuing to live fully despite knowing the risks." His words stayed with Zara long after he had gone. Was she truly living or merely surviving? Had fear become her master rather than her protector? Spring brought new challenges as planting season arrived. Zara had managed to save enough to purchase seed, but the work of preparing the fields and planting was daunting for one person. Once again, Noah arranged for help from his uncle's ranch, and together they worked the land. One afternoon, as they paused for water, Noah mentioned casually, "The spring dance is next weekend in town." Zara wiped her brow with her sleeve. "Is it? I'd forgotten. Would you consider attending, with me?" His tone was carefully neutral, giving her room to decline without awkwardness. Zara hesitated. A public outing together would signal something to the town, an understanding between them that she wasn't sure she was ready to acknowledge. "As friends," Noah added, seeming to read her thoughts. Nothing more. The sincerity in his eyes made her decision. "All right," she said. "As friends." The night of the dance, Zara wore her best dress, a blue cotton that brought out her eyes, and the silver locket Noah had given her at Christmas. When he arrived to escort her, the appreciation in his gaze made her blush like a girl. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "Thank you," she replied, suddenly shy. "You clean up well yourself." Indeed, Noah in his best shirt and freshly trimmed hair was a sight to behold. His normally tanned face was clean-shaven, revealing a strong jaw and the hint of a dimple in his right cheek when he smiled. The town hall was decorated with spring flowers and lit with dozens of lanterns. Nearly everyone from Council Bluffs and the surrounding farms had turned out, and heads turned as Zara entered on Noah's arm. "Mrs. Blackburn," Mrs. Johnson greeted her warmly. "How wonderful to see you out and about." "And with Mr. Yates, no less." Her knowing smile made Zara uncomfortable. "Noah has been a good neighbor and friend," Zara said firmly. "Of course, dear," Mrs. Johnson replied, not hiding her skepticism. "Friends." Throughout the evening, Zara endured similar knowing looks and comments. It seemed the entire town had decided she and Noah were courting, despite her insistence to the contrary. "Don't let them bother you," Noah said as they took a turn around the dance floor. "Small towns run on gossip. It doesn't bother you that they're assuming things?" Zara asked. Noah's hand was warm and steady at her waist. "Only if it bothers you," he said honestly. "I'm proud to be seen with you, Zara, in whatever capacity you'll have me." The music slowed, and Noah drew her slightly closer, still maintaining a proper distance. In his arms, Zara felt something she hadn't experienced in years, a sense of rightness, of belonging. "Noah," she said quietly, "I'm not sure what I want or what I'm ready for." "I know," he replied, his eyes never leaving hers, "and that's all right. Remember what I said, I'll wait as long as it takes." As they danced beneath the lantern light, Zara allowed herself to consider the possibility that Noah Yates might be different from the other men who had broken her trust. That perhaps, just perhaps, he might be someone worth risking her heart for. The evening ended too soon. As Noah drove her home in his wagon, the spring night was alive with the sound of crickets and the scent of new growth. Zara felt a contentment she hadn't experienced in years. At her door, Noah hesitated. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said. "I enjoyed every minute." "So did I," Zara admitted. "More than I expected to." Noah smiled, then leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wished. When she didn't, he placed a gentle kiss on her cheek. "Good night, Zara," he said softly. "I'll see you tomorrow to check on that fence in the north pasture." "Good night," she replied, touching her cheek where his lips had been. As spring turned to summer, Zara found herself looking forward to Noah's visits with increasing anticipation. His presence had become a comfort rather than a source of anxiety. They worked side by side in the fields, shared meals, and occasionally ventured into town together. The townsfolk had stopped remarking on their relationship, accepting it as a given that Noah Yates was courting the widow Blackburn, regardless of whether either party acknowledged it. One July evening, as they sat on Zara's porch watching fireflies dance over the fields, Noah spoke of his plans for his uncle's ranch. "He's getting older," Noah explained. "Wants to retire to a smaller place in town. He's offered me the chance to buy the ranch from him on very favorable terms." "That's wonderful," Zara said, genuinely happy for him. "You've worked hard to help him rebuild it." "It is," Noah agreed. "But it would mean more responsibility, less time to help here." He glanced at her. "I wanted you to know that doesn't change anything. I'll still be here whenever you need me." Zara nodded, trying to ignore the flutter of disappointment at the thought of seeing less of him. "I understand. You should focus on your ranch. I'm managing well now." Noah was quiet for a moment. "There's another option," he said finally. "What's that?" He turned to face her, his expression serious. "A partnership between your farm and my ranch, sharing resources, labor profits." "A business partnership," Zara clarified. "For now," Noah said, "with the potential for more when you're ready." Zara's heart raced. "Noah, you don't need to answer now," he said quickly. "Just think about it. From a practical standpoint, it makes sense. Your corn feeds my cattle. My ranch hands can help with your harvests. Together, we'd be stronger than either of us alone." The logic was sound, but Zara knew this wasn't merely about business. It was Noah offering her a bridge, a way to move closer to him without requiring her to take a leap of faith she wasn't yet ready for. "I'll think about it," she promised. That night, alone in her bed, Zara reflected on how far she had come in the year since receiving that blood-stained letter. Her farm was solvent. Her home was secure. And somehow, despite her determination to never trust again, Noah Yates had become essential to her life. Was she falling in love with him? The thought both thrilled and terrified her. If she was wrong about Noah, if he eventually betrayed her as others had, she might never recover. Yet if she was right, if he was truly the man he seemed to be, rejecting him might be the greatest mistake of her life. The decision weighed on her for weeks. Noah didn't press for an answer, continuing his regular visits and assistance while giving her space to consider his proposal. In late August, disaster struck. A sudden hailstorm ravaged the region, destroying crops and damaging buildings. Zara watched in horror from her window as ice the size of hens' eggs pummeled her corn, flattening stalks and shredding leaves. By morning, the damage was catastrophic. Nearly half her crop was destroyed, the rest badly damaged. Even if she salvaged what remained, it wouldn't be enough to cover her expenses and the next bank payment. Noah arrived before noon, his face grim as he surveyed the devastation. "It's bad," he acknowledged, "but not hopeless. We can salvage the eastern field and my corn fared better, I can share." Zara shook her head, fighting tears. "This is it, isn't it? The one bad season Hargrove warned about. I'm going to lose the farm." "No," Noah said firmly. "You're not. We'll figure this out." "How?" Zara demanded, frustration and fear spilling over. "I can't miraculously grow new corn before harvest. I can't conjure money from thin air. Accept my proposal," Noah said simply. "Not just the business partnership, all of it. Marry me, Zara." She stared at him, stunned. "What, marry me?" he repeated. "Combine our properties, our lives. Let me help you save this farm, and let me love you the way you deserve to be loved." "Noah, I can't marry you because of a hailstorm," Zara protested. "That's not fair to either of us." "The hailstorm just forced the timing," Noah replied, "but I've been waiting to ask you for months." "I love you, Zara. I think you might love me too, though you're scared to admit it." The words hung between them, honest and challenging. Zara felt something crack inside her, the walls she had built so carefully beginning to crumble. "I need time," she whispered. Noah nodded, unsurprised. "Take the time you need. But know this, I meant what I said all those months ago. I'll wait as long as it takes, even if that's forever." He left her then, promising to return the next day to begin salvaging what they could of her crop. Zara watched him go, her emotions in turmoil. That night, she took out the silver locket he had given her and opened it. Inside, she had placed a tiny photograph of her parents in happier times before gambling and betrayal had torn their family apart. She had kept it as a reminder of what trust could cost. Now, studying the image, Zara realized she had been looking at it wrong all these years. Yes, trust had been broken. Yes, there had been pain. But before that, there had been love and joy. By closing herself off to the possibility of trust, she had also denied herself the chance for happiness. Noah Yates had proven himself over and over. Not with grand promises or elaborate gestures, but with consistent actions, day after day. He had respected her boundaries, supported her independence, and asked for nothing she wasn't ready to give. If she couldn't trust Noah, she would never trust anyone again. And what kind of life would that be? The next morning, Zara rose before dawn and walked her damaged fields. The sight was heartbreaking, but as the sun rose over the horizon, she found herself focusing not on what was lost, but on what remained. Half a crop was better than none. The farm buildings were intact. Her animals were safe. And most importantly, she was not alone. When Noah arrived, she was waiting on the porch. "I've been thinking about your proposal," she said without preamble. Noah removed his hat, his expression carefully neutral. "And the business partnership makes sense," Zara began. "Combining resources, sharing labor, it's practical." "It is," Noah agreed, disappointment flickering across his features. "But I've never been one to do things halfway," Zara continued, stepping closer to him. "So if we're to be partners, I want it to be complete, in business and in life." Noah's eyes widened. "Zara, are you saying I'm saying yes?" she interrupted, her heart pounding. "Yes to the partnership, yes to marriage, yes to trusting again, to trusting you." Joy spread across Noah's face. He closed the distance between them, taking her hands in his. "Are you certain? I don't want you to feel pressured because of the hailstorm or the farm or—" "I'm certain about you," Zara said simply. "The rest we'll figure out together." Noah pulled her gently into his arms, and for the first time, their lips met in a kiss that held both promise and healing. When they finally parted, Zara felt as though something long broken inside her had finally begun to mend. "I love you, Noah Yates," she whispered, "and I'm ready to trust again." Noah's smile was radiant. "I love you too, Zara Blackburn, and I promise that trust will never be misplaced." They were married 2 weeks later in a small ceremony at the church in Council Bluffs. Noah's Uncle James gave Zara away, and the Forrester brothers stood as witnesses. Afterward, the small gathering celebrated at Noah's ranch, soon to be their ranch, alongside Zara's farm. "To beginnings," Noah toasted, raising his glass to his bride. "To trust," Zara returned, the silver locket gleaming at her throat. That night, as husband and wife, they discovered each other anew. Noah's tenderness and patience melted the last of Zara's reservations, and in his arms she found both passion and peace. "I meant what I said," Noah murmured as they lay together afterward. "I would have waited forever." "I'm glad you didn't have to," Zara replied, resting her head on his chest. "We've lost enough time already." The months that followed brought challenges as they combined their operations and salvaged what they could of Zara's damaged crop. With Noah's help and his uncle's connections, they managed to secure a loan extension from the bank and survive the winter comfortably. By spring, they had developed a plan for the combined properties that would make both more profitable. Noah's cattle would graze part of Zara's land, enriching the soil, while her corn would feed his livestock. They would add wheat and possibly an orchard the following year. Working together, they transformed both properties. Zara's farmhouse became their home, while Noah's cabin on his ranch served as a base for their expanding operations. With the Forrester brothers and 2 additional hands hired for the busy seasons, the work became manageable and even enjoyable. One evening in early summer, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, Zara placed Noah's hand on her still flat stomach. "We're going to need more space," she said softly. Noah's eyes widened. Yes," she confirmed, smiling at his expression of wonder. "Due in winter." Joy transformed his features as he gathered her in his arms. "A child," he whispered. "Our child." "Are you happy?" Zara asked. "Happier than I ever thought possible," Noah replied, kissing her tenderly. "Are you scared?" "A little," she admitted. "But not of trusting you, never that again." Their son, William James Yates, was born on a snowy December night, with Noah pacing anxiously outside the bedroom door while the doctor and Mrs. Johnson attended to Zara. When he was finally allowed in, the sight of his wife holding their newborn son brought tears to his eyes. "He's perfect," Noah whispered, carefully taking the tiny bundle in his arms, "just like his mother." "He has your eyes," Zara observed, exhausted but radiant, "and hopefully your patience." Noah laughed. "And your strength," he added, sitting beside her on the bed. "Thank you for this gift." "For everything." As their son grew, so did their operation. By his first birthday, the Yates farm had become one of the most successful in the county. Noah's innovative ranching methods, combined with Zara's careful farm management, created a prosperous enterprise that weathered even the harshest seasons. They added to their family 2 years later with the birth of their daughter, Emma Rose. Watching Noah with their children patient, loving, and steadfast, Zara often reflected on how close she had come to missing this happiness. 5 years after their wedding, on the anniversary of the day Noah had first offered his help with her harvest, Zara presented him with a special gift, a hand-carved wooden box similar to the one he had given her that first Christmas. "What's this?" Noah asked, opening it to find a folded piece of paper inside. "Read it," Zara urged. Noah unfolded the paper to reveal the deed to her original farm, now legally changed to include both their names. "I should have done this years ago," Zara explained. "But I wanted you to know that I truly trust you with everything I have, including the land I once thought was all I had left." Noah's eyes shone with emotion. "Zara, you don't need to prove anything to me." "I know," she said, taking his hand. "This isn't about proving something. It's about acknowledging what's been true for a long time. Everything I have is yours, just as everything you have is mine. No reservations, no fear." Noah pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "Do you remember what I said when you were afraid to trust again?" Zara smiled against his shoulder. "You said you'd wait as long as it takes." "And I would have," Noah affirmed. "But I'm grateful every day that you found the courage to take that chance, that you trusted me with your heart." "The best decision I ever made," Zara said, drawing back to look into his eyes. "I love you, Noah Yates." "And I love you, Zara Yates," he replied. "Yesterday, today, and always." As twilight settled over their land, they stood together on the porch of the home they had built, not just the physical structure, but the life they had created through trust, patience, and love. Their children played in the yard, their land stretched prosperous and green before them, and their hearts beat as one healed whole, and filled with the certainty that some promises were indeed worth keeping. In the years that followed, the Yates farm became a cornerstone of the community around Council Bluffs. Noah and Zara's innovative approach to combining ranching and farming became a model for other small landowners, and they generously shared their knowledge and resources. Their family grew along with their prosperity. After William and Emma came another son, Robert, and finally, a surprise late in life, their youngest daughter, Grace. The Yates children grew up knowing the value of hard work, the importance of integrity, and the power of patience and trust. On their 25th wedding anniversary, Noah and Zara hosted a celebration that drew people from miles around. Their home, expanded and improved over the years, but still standing on the same plot where Zara had once faced an uncertain future alone, overflowed with friends, family, and neighbors. As the evening drew to a close, Noah led Zara away from the gathering to the oak tree where they had shared water during that first harvest so long ago. Now massive and strong, the tree had weathered countless storms, just as their love had. 25 years, Noah marveled, taking her hands in his. Sometimes I still can't believe you said yes, Zara laughed, the lines around her eyes deepening with her smile. Sometimes I can't believe I waited so long to say it. It was worth the wait, Noah assured her. Every moment with you has been worth it. As they stood beneath the oak tree, surrounded by the land they had nurtured together, and with the sounds of their family and friends in the distance, Zara reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a blood-stained letter and a broken heart to a life richer and more fulfilling than she could have imagined. You kept your promise, she said softly. All these years. Noah smiled, the love in his eyes as strong as it had been the day they wed. And I always will. That's what real trust is, built on promises kept, day after day, year after year. I know, Zara replied. And I'm grateful every day that you taught me to trust again. As the stars appeared overhead, Noah and Zara Yates returned to their celebration, walking hand in hand into the future they had built together, one patient day at a time.